Now, over the last 7 years, I've taken this YouTube channel from 0 to over 1 million subscribers, but it definitely wasn't easy, and I've made a ton of mistakes along the way. Mistakes that have cost me time, money, and definitely prevented this channel from growing as quickly as what it could. So in this video, I'm going to share my 5 biggest mistakes so that you know exactly what to avoid. It's coming up. Hey everyone, Steve here from Learn Online Video, and today I want to help you grow your YouTube channels as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And I want to do that by sharing some things to avoid and mistakes that I myself have made over the years, things that will ultimately hold you back and slow you down. A big thanks to Epidemic Sound for sponsoring this video. Now let's jump straight in with the first mistake, and that is perfectionism. Now this is a big one and still something that I struggle with today. When I first started this YouTube channel, I was obsessed with getting everything perfect. I invested in a good camera, I bought studio lights so that my talking headshot would look slick and professional. I spent £300 on Final Cut Pro so that I could edit my videos to look the best they could be, and I assumed that as long as my production quality was high, success would follow. But the reality is, focusing too much on production quality early on was a mistake. Now don't get me wrong, high quality visuals and sound are important, but they're not the most critical factor for growing your channel in the beginning. I spent so much time and energy perfecting every shot whilst out on shoots, then I'd bring all of that footage back and do exactly the same again in the edit, and I neglected the most crucial aspect, and that's creating consistent, valuable content. I posted my first 2 videos to this channel on May the 6th, 2017, and they took me ages to create. These are still up, by the way. You can go back and take a look if you fancy a giggle. But then I didn't post another video until January 2018, almost a year later, and this was for 2 reasons. The first was that I just didn't think my first 2 videos were good enough. The second was because these videos just didn't perform very well. They barely got any views, and they took me a long time to create, so I deemed them failures. Or in other words, I was struggling with perfectionism.
Okay, this is screen test 1. Let's try and make the back darker. Too contrasty. I just need a fill. I think it's good, and a backlight.
For some ludicrous reason, I thought that my first 2 YouTube videos would go viral, skyrocket my success on YouTube, and that just didn't happen. And when it didn't, it really dented my confidence and I stopped uploading. And as a result, I was missing out on opportunities to grow my audience and build a community because I was far too focused on the technical details. So what's the lesson here? Well, instead of stressing over getting everything perfect from the start, focus on delivering content that resonates with your audience. Consistency is key. You can always improve production quality over time as your channel grows. Remember, content value and regular uploads are far more important in the early stages than having a perfect setup. Prioritize your content and connection with your audience and let the technical details follow. Okay, number 2, let's talk about titles and thumbnails, because it genuinely breaks me just how much YouTube depends on these 2 elements. But the reality is, even if your video is an absolute banger, it won't get noticed unless the title and thumbnail grab your audience's attention. If people don't click on your video, they won't have a chance to watch it. Doesn't matter how good your video is, it could be the best video on YouTube, but if no one clicks on it, it won't get any views and YouTube will bury it. I really wish I'd have known just how important it is to plan your title and thumbnail before creating your video. In the beginning, I'd come up with my title and thumbnail whilst literally uploading it to YouTube, which is by far the worst thing you can do, a really inefficient approach. Creating a video can take a lot of time, days, sometimes weeks, especially if it involves detailed research, filming in multiple locations, the editing, putting all that time and effort into a video, then only thinking about the title and thumbnail at the end is a bit like buying some delicious ingredients for a meal, cooking it to perfection, and then putting it all in a blender. It's just never going to work, and quite frankly, tastes disgusting. So these days, I make sure to focus on the title and thumbnail before even hitting record. Then once I have a compelling title and thumbnail idea, something intriguing, something that will add value, and something that I know my audience will enjoy, then I move on to outline and write that video. This approach is much more effective and saves a lot of wasted time. I am always coming up with video titles and ideas. This is where every video begins. I've got a list of titles on my phone of potential video ideas, and once I land on one that I think could work, then I start to think about what the thumbnail for that video would look like. If you can come up with an intriguing title and eye-catching thumbnail, you're already onto a winning formula. I recommend thinking about your target audience right from the start. Your video isn't meant to be for everyone. It's aimed at people who, well, at least in my case, are into video production and content creation, so the title and thumbnail should be tailored to what resonates with this specific audience. For example, a bright, colorful thumbnail might work for a children's video, but it wouldn't fit for an educational video like this one. So instead, think about what will appeal to your audience and align with your content's niche. Also, I'm really keen to check out your YouTube channel, so make sure that you link them in the comments section below, and I'll head over and check out your titles and thumbnails. And if there are any tips that I can give you or any big mistakes I feel like that you're making, I'll be sure to let you know. Okay, moving on. Number 3, not understanding the importance of viewer retention. Now, when I first started this YouTube channel, I thought that the key to growth was simple: get as many views and subscribers as possible. But there was one crucial element that I completely overlooked: viewer retention. I was so focused on driving traffic to my videos that I didn't think about how long people were actually staying to watch. And there's a huge problem with this. YouTube's algorithm prioritizes content that keeps viewers engaged. If people click on your video but only watch for a few seconds before leaving, YouTube takes this as a signal that your content is a giant pile of shit, and it quite simply just won't promote or share your videos. For example, I used to think that if I got 5,000 views on a video, it was a success. But what I didn't realize was that many of those viewers were dropping off after the first 30 seconds. My videos weren't keeping them engaged, and this was seriously affecting the channel's performance. So, how do you keep people watching? Well, let's quickly break it down into 3 key areas. The first is your hook. You need to grab your viewers' attention in the first few seconds of the video. This could be with a compelling question, a bold statement, or a teaser for what's coming up. For example, if you're doing a tutorial, start by showing the final result right away to make people curious about how you achieve it. Think of it a bit like a trailer for a movie. It needs to make people want to stick around to watch the whole thing. Next is pacing. If your video drags on or feels slow, viewers are going to click away. Keep things moving and cut out any unnecessary filler. If you're explaining something, get to the point quickly, and don't be afraid to break up your content with B-roll, graphics, or even a little bit of humor to keep it more engaging. Okay, and finally, storytelling and structure. Even if your video isn't a story in the most traditional sense, start to think of it like one. Your content should have a clear beginning, middle, and end. When your video flows like a story, viewers are far more likely to stay engaged because they're invested in the outcome. Or break up your content into sections, a bit like this one. Move through them at a steady, engaging pace. For instance, if you're explaining a tutorial, don't linger too long on any one step. Keep things moving so that your audience stays focused. Okay, number 4, working with brands. Now, if you're planning to grow your YouTube channel, which I'm assuming you are if you've made it this far into the video, then at some point brands will start to reach out to collaborate with you. And for me, this happened at around about 15,000 subscribers, and this can be a very exciting time. I specifically remember the first time I received an email from a brand saying that we've seen your videos, we're big fans, and we would love to work with you. Now, at the beginning, this was just in the form of free products, no offer of sponsorships or brand deals, but this was a sign that the channel was working, and I knew that if I just carried on this track, then sponsorships would follow. And at the time, I was working full-time, trying to juggle making YouTube videos, and the thought of making a part-time or even a full-time income from YouTube was incredibly exciting. But the mistake I made was creating content around a particular product just because that brand had reached out with that product, and that's completely the wrong way to do it. I made this mistake once, and I promised I would never do it again. So now I have a completely different approach when it comes to working with brands, and it's one that works much better for not only myself, but also the audience and the brand. And that is when a brand reaches out for a collaboration, I then look at my list of already planned video ideas. Normally I have the next 4 ideas locked in and ready to go, and I see whether that product or service would organically fit into any of these planned videos. And if they don't, or it feels like the video would be too forced with that product, then I simply say no. That way I'm only making the videos that I want to make, the ones that I've already planned, and the ones that best serve my audience. The number 1 question I always ask myself is this a product or service that either myself or my audience would use and get value from? Just as an example, here are a couple of random emails that I've received over the last couple of weeks from brands. Will you help us promote our lawnmower? Will you help us promote this electric bike? Will you help us us promote our cutlery. Or look at this one here. This is a table that slides over your bed. My nan literally has this table. Now, don't get me wrong, I could easily figure out a way to integrate products like these into my content, but it would just feel way too forced because I don't have any videos planned where I feature a lawnmower, an electric bike, or cutlery, so I'd be changing my content to best suit the brand. Whereas if I've got a video coming up titled How to Shoot Urban B-roll using a smartphone gimbal, then integrating a gimbal into that video would feel much more organic. Also, never agree to feature any product in your video unless you have tested that product in real-world scenarios. This is really important. You don't want to recommend a product to someone that you've never actually tested. That's crazy. Don't expect people to spend their hard-earned money on something that you've never tested. So, another rule that I have is that I will never agree to feature any product unless I've been using it for at least a couple of weeks. That way, if I do feature it, I can honestly talk about my experience, including the pros and the cons. Now, one brand that I am proud to work with, and one that I've worked with for many years, is Epidemic Sound. I feel like they are the perfect brand to collaborate with on this channel because I've been using them since long before they ever reached out to sponsor a video. They've got a huge archive of music which is featured in every single one of my videos. It's something that my audience can use in any of their videos, and they offer my audience a free 7-day trial to anyone that uses the link in my description, so it's win-win for everyone. I get support from an incredible brand offering a great service that I'm already using. My audience gets to try them for free, and the brand gets their service promoted to their perfect target audience. For those of you that don't know who Epidemic Sound are, by the way, then they are a music licensing platform that have a huge archive of music and sound effects. Perfect if you've got a YouTube channel or someone that makes videos on a regular basis. You can search by genre, mood, or theme. I have been using them for years. They really are an incredible resource. And right now, they're offering 25% off an annual subscription to anyone that uses the link in my description. But this is for a very limited time only and will expire 1 week from the date that I publish this video. So if you've been looking to sign up, now is the time. Use the link in my description along with code LOV25 to receive your discount. And if you're watching this video in the future, then don't worry, you can still get your free 7-day trial by using that link. Okay, right, moving on. The next mistake, number 5, relying too much on one content format. Now, when I first started YouTube, I focused on one type of content that was performing well initially. However, as trends changed and viewer preferences evolved, my channel suffered because I hadn't diversified my content. Relying on a single content format made my channel less adaptable to changes in audience interests and platform trends, ultimately limiting long-term growth. So, what did I do to fix this? Well, I created content pillars. What are content pillars? Content pillars are key themes or topics that serve as the foundation for your content strategy. They help organize and guide the creation of your content by focusing on core areas that are important to your audience and align with your brand's goals. Essentially, they're broad topics that can be broken down into more specific content pieces. For example, let's say you had a fitness YouTube channel, then your content pillars could include workout routines, nutrition, and mental health. By establishing these content pillars, you ensure that your content remains relevant, focused, and valuable for your audience, making it easier to plan and maintain a consistent content schedule. So now I have 3 content pillars: shooting tips and techniques, editing tutorials, and YouTube growth, just like the video that you're watching right now. Occasionally I might do gear reviews or a Q&A, but for the most part I stick to these 3 pillars. If I was just relying on content about shooting techniques, then this would get boring. Also, during the winter months where it consistently rains here in the UK, I'm now able to shoot videos indoors. Whether this is an editing tutorial or tips on growing on YouTube, I'm not relying on the weather to dictate whether I can shoot a video or not. This is just a sensible strategy that I wish I'd implemented sooner. So be sure to diversify your content formats and keep things fresh and appeal to different segments of your audience. Experiment with various video types like tutorials, reviews, vlogs, and Q&A sessions to see what videos you enjoy making and which ones your audience respond to best. Also, I'm curious, do let me know what mistakes you feel like you've been making in the comment section below and what's been hindering your growth. And if you'd like to learn more about video production or growing on YouTube, then be sure to check out these 2 videos here. But that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.